Starting fast in fantasy is pivotal for your team's success. It could be the difference on if you make or miss your fantasy playoffs. So today I have a lot of the tougher lineup decisions and we're going to run through it together. As always, drop your questions or hey, if you just want a second opinion about your lineup, drop it down in the comments. I'll get back to every single one as quickly as I possibly can. Now, what a difference a year makes. Last year, Marvin Harrison was a lock in the first round of our drafts, and he failed us. This year, he was a bit more of a fair price, in the middle third and fourth rounds, depending on how big your league was. And this is a guy that, yes, last year was underwhelming, but he is still the number one option in an offense that has the same quarterback and same coach, and they have both vocalized they want to get Harrison the ball more in 2025. This is a guy that last year, despite being underwhelming, still had 8 touchdowns. He was still a big red zone threat. And now in week 1, they're playing a confusing Saints team because on paper, I think the Saints might be the worst team in football. However, they are notorious for starting hot and upsetting a couple teams in recent years in the early weeks of the season. For this game in particular, I do worry that this could just be a blowout and Marvin Harrison and some of these starters don't play all of the snaps that they should on a regular game basis if they get up big early. However, due to the vocalization of the coach and quarterback stating they want to get Harrison the ball more, I think we'll throw him in our lineups, man. Let's see what we got. Let's give him a second chance in year 2. Maybe this could be the year he breaks out and wins us our fantasy leagues. We're going to start him. Let's go to the Big Apple with their new quarterback in Justin Fields, a guy that doesn't need to be, I guess, so one-noted as far as the quarterback position. You have guys like Jared Goff and guys like Aaron Rodgers that are going to do all of their damage with their arm. Justin Fields doesn't need to do that. We know him to be an elite rusher and dual-threat quarterback in this league. Now, new home for him. He is getting a fresh chance to being a starting quarterback in the NFL. However, he's playing a tough Pittsburgh defense, one of the hardest defenses to go against as a quarterback in the last 2 years, to be honest. But he's going up against a Pittsburgh defense. There's so many questions with this Jets offense that is a new coach, new system. There's going to be growing pains from both sides of the football for the Jets. I just think I'm going to trust the defense gets after Justin Fields more than he dominates the Pittsburgh defense, if that makes sense. So for that reason, some of you might have drafted him to be your starter. And for those reasons, check out the waiver wire because we're going to sit Justin Fields in week number 1. Now, this might be a shocker, but I am not a fan of the Miami Dolphins this year. And if you follow the channel, that's been well noted. However, for Jaylen Waddle, I think he's going to be the first guy to show how bad the Dolphins might be this season. This is a high-powered offense, and he does have a good matchup on paper against a really subpar Colts secondary on the road in a game that the Dolphins really want to win. And this is a guy that, yes, he only needs 1 or 2 catches to really break the door open and, well, put up 20 fantasy points for our fantasy lineups. But this is an offense that was as inconsistent as can be, whether Tua was healthy or not. And honestly, I just don't think that this team with the mojo, with all the off-field stuff that they got going on, with the other injuries they have, I'm actually going to just say, I'm going to sit back. Let me see what this offense looks like in 2025 before I start throwing these guys back in the lineup. So for now, we're going to sit Jaylen Waddle. I love the player, but for fantasy, I'm going to wait and see. Now let's go to my hometown. This might be a layup, and I know a lot of you drafted him to be a starter, but it's week 1, and I want to give my guy some love. David Njoku, a guy that now has Joe Flacco back as his quarterback, and that was when his best numbers of his career really came from, just 2 seasons ago. He's playing Cincinnati at home. It's a team that is a loaded offense, but bad defense, and that leads to a lot of shootouts, as we saw last season. And Cincy, again, didn't make a lot of changes to their defense. This is a guy that last year against Cincinnati had 18 receptions in 2 games on 24 targets. David Njoku gets featured against this poor Cincinnati defense, and it is now Joe Flacco back as his quarterback. So I think this guy finds the end zone in week number 1. And as a Browns fan, I actually think that we keep it close. We might even win the week number 1. So for all of those reasons, we're going to start the Chief David Njoku. Finally, we got to get a rookie on this list. Egbuka is an automatic start this week for me. And yes, I said automatic start. He's on the road against a young defense that might have a lot of communication issues in the Atlanta Falcons. who already weren't a great defense last year. Emeka Egbuka goes into the slot position, taking over for Chris Godwin until he returns to the field. And we saw last year when Jalen McMillan took that position, he really shined in the last month of the season. But it's just in general, slot receivers and offenses get the most targets. If you want to go to Cooper Kupp for many years in LA, he got so many targets on a game-to-game basis. If you want to go on a lesser note, Khalil Shakir in Buffalo got the most targets in that offense last year. Slot receivers just get the most targets, and Emeka is an elite route runner in an offense that's pretty good. So I like everything here. Everything's clicking. The cons, though, it is his first game, but I look past that. This is a guy that is ready for the pros, and I think he proves it in week number 1. Key divisional matchup. We're going to start Emeka Egbuka, and we're going to expect double-digit points. Here are the starts and sits for week number 1. Last year, we were over 70% on our correctness rate, whatever you want to call it. And this year, we're going to start it off with a lot of skill positions. Marvin Harrison, David Njoku, Emeka, and as I mentioned, a sneaky Sunday night play, Khalil Shakir, if you're in the deeper leagues. I like him to get 8 to 10 points. And then for the sits, we have Jaylen Waddle and Justin Fields. These are guys that I either love or hate in week number 1. Now, as always, if you have any questions or just want a second opinion, drop those in the comment section below, and I'll get back to every single one as fast as I can.